celebrating the world's most popular sport. This is Ultimate Soccer. And now your host, here's Soccer Steve.
1977, like it says there on the scenes. Those goalposts getting ripped down, that was 1977. That was England-Scotland, an international game, and it was in home internationals, the British home internationals. Doesn't happen anymore, but when it did, it was really good. Point being is, those Scottish fans were just having a good time. They weren't bad guys. They were just overjoyed at winning at Wembley, and I believe that was 2-0 on the day. And that Scottish team in 77, that's 77. And by the way, you're getting squashed, yeah. It's amazing what you see when you zoom in and have a look at some of them pictures. But yeah, I think that person was pretty well squished by the bar coming down. But what a memory that was, 1977. This story is 1978. It's Scotland, England at Glasgow. Let me tell you, not many football fans from England went to Glasgow for them games. It was a scary place to go to Hampden Park. That's where I'd be going, Hampden Park. But it was a scary place. Not many England fans wanted to be there. So I'm 13 years age at the time. Just a 13-year-old boy. And where I'm living in Stoke-on-Trent at the time, a place called Sneyd Green. And I lived there for quite a few years. Hence my knowledge of the Stoke area and having big respect for the Stoke City and the Stoke City fans, the Naughty 40, Devon, Ethan, R. Stokey, and a few of the other guys too, Mark Crossley, and the best of wishes to you. So I know a lot about the Stoke area, fantastic. But getting to it, staying to it, I was headed to Glasgow, Scotland. Aye, bonnie Scotland, for the England-Scotland home international game at Hampden Park in Glasgow. Now, little history before we get there. The home internationals used to be 3 games between the home international nations. Now, the home international nations were England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. One more time, England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. Because, you see, the Republic of Ireland, well, they don't figure in Britain, so they don't get to play. So they have to go and find their own tournaments to play with. So the Republic of Ireland, in their lovely colours, they don't get to play. They're not part of Britain. So it's England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. End of. So now you know. By the way, on the winners' tally all time, and the home internationals ran for 100 years. Started in 1883 and finished in 1983. 1883, Scotland won the tournament. 1983, Northern Ireland won the last tournament. If you want to know stats-wise, and I think people do, England won 54 tournaments. Scotland won 41. Wales won 12. And Northern Ireland won 8. So there's the trickle down. So you can see that it was really England and Scotland punching each other. England, Scotland punching each other, ripping goalposts down. That were the 2 big teams at that tournament. Love that flag on that crossbar. Doesn't that look cool? Take a look on the video later, but that is a wicked photograph. Anyway, that was 1977. This is 1978. I'm a young lad. I'm getting on a train with a gentleman by the name of David McGregor. And Dave McGregor is a Glaswegian. He's from Glasgow. And he was living in the Stoke area. And him and my dad became very good friends over a short time. My dad being Irish and David being Scottish, Celtic. The Celts get along really good. So these guys just hit it off straight away. And my dad knew that I'm a soccer freak, even at that age. Yeah, I've always been. It's never changed. It's not going to change. And my dad said to Davey, could you get him up to Scotland with you for the England-Scotland game? And Davey McGregor, he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And really, big respect. Dave McGregor, he didn't know what he did for me at the time. But that was my first ever road trip anywhere for football. And it's going to support your nation. And you're going to Scotland. And you see previously, the year before, you're getting your goalposts ripped out of the ground at Wembley, your home stadium. And now you're going to go to Scotland as an England fan. And hooligans don't even want to go to Scotland because they're petrified of the Scots. Aye. So I'm a lad going up there with a Glaswegian, and it's a fantastic thing. So we get on the train tracks at Stoke, we start going up the up the railroads, and we're hitting little towns, but with no stops. The only stop we've got is Carlisle, which is way up the tracks. It's probably about, it's over 3 hours from Stoke to Carlisle on the train then. It probably is now, but it took a while. And the train's packed with all kinds of normal people, but the views off the tracks, I just remember, it just kept going on and on and on. And it seemed to have no end. And remember, I'm just a kid, so like, even back then when there was no internet, no devices, nothing. You kids of today, you would have been dying in that train. Me, I'm having a great time. I'm just amusing myself as best I can, talking to people, just reading the odd pamphlet that's in the seats, you know, just keeping myself occupied. Eventually, we get through Carlisle, and then we're coming into Glasgow, and we get into Glasgow, and then there's 3 places that we got to sort of think about when we're in Glasgow. The first place is the Gorbals. Now, the Gorbals doesn't even sound good, does it? And Scotland is a tough country with some tough areas. And some of them tough areas are really run down. And going into the Gorbals, I remember it like today. Nobody told me about the Gorbals, and I didn't know that Davey was from the Gorbals. But we went to the Gorbals to see his dad. And I remember his dad giving me a couple of programs, game programs, like boxing programs and also soccer programs. But it was always England, Scotland. And one of the programs he gave me, it was like over 80 years old at the time, and I kept it. And I have it in a suitcase. But the Gorbals was a nasty place. It was like the Bronx, New York, or Compton. But it made them look pretty. The Gorbals in Glasgow. And if you lived there, you knew that you were in a tough spot. So as a visitor, I get to the Gorbals. And I'm looking around, and there's cars just flipped over, been ripped and stripped, and they're just lying there rusting in the open. And there's not just one, there's a couple of them, and there's garbage everywhere. And I'm walking up these concrete stairs, and the paint, there's no paint on the walls, it's bare concrete. Everything is bare concrete. It's like a prison. In fact, a prison's way better. The conditions these people lived in at the Gorbals was subhuman, but the humans that lived there were superhuman. Them Scots in the Gorbals were magic people, still are to this day. But I'm going up them steps, and I'm looking at this place, and it's like, wow. I'm in a rough spot here, mate. I mean, I don't exactly live in a palace back in Stoke, but this is rough. Totally rough. And got into the apartment where Davey is at the Gorbals. And we spent a little time there. And then the next place we were going to was Thornleybank, which was about 20 minutes, 30 minutes on the bus. But don't forget the Gorbals. It was hostile. Conditions were bad. Like, this represents what the Gorbals used to look like. These 3 pictures there really represents it. I've got to say, we go to the Thornleybank area after the Gorbals, but don't forget the Gorbals, man. I tell you, it was a rough area. Thornleybank, where Sadie was, Dave's brother, was gorgeous. It was a fantastic place. Absolutely beautiful. It was unbelievable. But we're there. Just me. Davey trucks off, goes to see his mates, and he has to go to the pub, obviously. He's a fella. I'm a kid. So he does his thing Friday night. Saturday morning, he picks me up, and we're going to Hampden Park. And just like that picture there, I'll tell you about that in a minute. We get to Hampden Park, and I'm thinking, yes, here we go. Going at Hampden Park, Scotland, with Davey, yeah? It's fantastic. I'm just living it. I mean, I am absolutely amazed. By the way, Scotland's team 78 was going to the World Cup. That ball there, that ball right there, that's the ball from the 1978 World Cup. That's a tournament ball from the 1978 World Cup. That is one of my prized possessions. Absolutely love that ball from the 78 World Cup. Scotland, anyway, in 1978, they were off to Argentina in the World Cup. Ali McLeod was their manager. We're on the march with Ali's army. We're going to the Argentine. And we'll really shake 'em up when we win the World Cup, 'cause Scotland's got the greatest football team. Still remember that song as they were singing it in the crowd at Hampden Park, and I'm a little England fan watching the game, and this England fan takes off his Scotland shirt right now, and he's throwing on the England shirt, and it's like, sub me in, coach, I'm ready, let's give it. So we get into Hampden Park. Now, how did we get into Hampden Park? Well, I'm thinking Dave's got tickets, it's all legit, everything's good. No. We don't have tickets, and that's no problem. No problem whatsoever. Because like you might have seen in one of these pictures flying by, there was two ways of getting in the crowd inside the stadium if you didn't have a ticket. The first one was to jump over the turnstile. So where it goes click, 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 and you give your ticket and he pushes you through and the door goes click, click, click. You just fire right over it. You jump right over it. And believe you me, like rats jumping off a ship, I saw people at that game, Scotland fans, jumping over the turnstile in the masses. And I mean in the masses. I saw more people jumping the turnstiles than giving a ticket, I'll tell you that. And I saw more people jumping over the wall, climbing over and bringing up their mate as well too than were going through with a ticket. And on the day, they said it was 88,000 at Hampden Park. Not a chance. It was at least 124,000 like the paper in the morning said there was. It's like there's at least 124,000 people in the crowd. Yeah? So, that's how I got in the ground. No ticket, no problem. Getting into Hampden Park. When I climbed up the bank, because it seems like the stairs going up towards the end so you can get in and stand on the terrace and watch the game, it seems that staircase went on forever. If you ever see an old picture, stop frame this video and you'll see Hampden Park with the grass bank, and then you can get into the end. It took forever to walk up this thing. See this ground here? Just there. It took forever to walk up these stairs. Forever. Huge things. And when I got over that edge, I was amazed with the view. It was like, wow. I have never been in a ground that big in my life to that point, and never since. Hampden Park in 1978 was absolutely massive. The sound and the atmosphere was like nothing else. And it was like one family. I'd give credit to the Scotsman. When they're at Glasgow, they're a family. It was just amazing. So anyway, I'm in there. I'm in awe. I can't believe the scene that I'm taking in. I'm jealous as hell of Scotland, the football team, because they're going to the 78 World Cup and they're going to kick that ball around right there, yeah? Jealous as hell I am. But I'm up there and obviously I'm representing England at the game. So the game goes on, la 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 la. It's boring, it's dull. It's a beautiful sunny day, great atmosphere, but the crowd can't get into it because the teams are playing really average. Half time, duck eggs, 0-0. It's boring, it's pretty dull, but the fans are still giving it some, and plenty of lagers are going through the crowd. Not me, I'm a kid, but there's loads of drinking in the crowd because the Scots like a beer. And game carries on, second half, still dull. Fans are having a great time. Da 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 da. And in the 83rd minute, Stevie Coppell scores the winning goal because it finished 1-0 to England. Stevie Coppell scores the goal. And he's way down the far end of the ground, and I'm tracking this. He's got to be at least, I mean, I'm not kidding you, at least a quarter of a mile away from me because I'm right at the top of that end. And I'm looking down on this tiny little guy. He looks about that big, just about that big. And I can see him stretch his little leg out and the ball goes in the net. And in that moment, I'm like, yes! And at the split second, I'm like, oh no! Because I'm surrounded, literally, probably by about, I'm figuring maybe 60,000 Scots around me. And I'm like, yeah, no. And I'm thinking, oh, crap. And Dave is right next to me, and he's not saying a word. And this big Scotsman breathes on me, and he goes, that's no problem, sonny. We'll kill you after the game. And they had a big chuckle about it, all those Scots fans, because obviously I'm a kid, and they're having a good old laugh. And then another guy, straight away, another Scotsman, he goes, Ah, no bother, son, no bother. Be proud of your country. Well done, son. Well done for standing up. So it was an amazing atmosphere at the ground. When England scored the goal, Stevie Coppell, 83rd minute, I'm jumping up, celebrating. At the split moment, I'm thinking, oh no, what am I doing? I'm going to get kicked to bits. Because I'm in the most violent ground in probably Britain. Because if you're not having a good time in Scotland, there's a big fight on. And Hampden Park has seen a few battles. But it wasn't going to be a battle on this day, because the Scots fans in that end were fantastic people. And I had a fantastic day. But the point I'm making is this, is the Scottish fans are absolutely probably amongst the best people, guest givers, hosts, for anybody else coming in that you're ever going to find. But it's a memory I'm never going to forget. So I thought I'd share that with you. It's not one of those nasty hooligan stories. This is something of a really lovely story. And it really does tell you how great the Scottish fans are, how great the British Home International Champions used to be, and they don't happen anymore. And what a great time it was, period, in football. But yeah, I went up to Glasgow, came back, not a scratch, had a fantastic time. And don't remember, a year before, they were ripping England's goalposts out the ground at Wembley. I went to Scotland, cheering in the crowd, and I'm the only England fan that I could see probably in Glasgow at the time. I think most of those Scottish fans were in shock that an England fan was in Glasgow after what they did at Wembley a year earlier. And even during that game at Wembley, when they ripped out the posts, the Scottish fans were loudest. And they always are loudest. They always outshout the England fans, do the Scots. So, there's a story. England-Scotland away day. It was a memorable story. People getting squished by the goalpost going down and a lot of good stuff. And I tell you, great memory. Next story coming may not be so nice, but that was one of the nice trips away. And that was my first ever road trip. So I thought I'd share something with you as we build these stories. And it finished 1-0 to England on the day, but Scotland had a fantastic team in 78 under Ali MacLeod, the coach, and that would be the ball that they would kick around, and it wouldn't be a good World Cup. Love you, Scotland. Love you, England. Love you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that one. More coming.
This is Ultimate Soccer with Soccer Steve.